how do we all feel, just to sort of get into this, how do we feel about what was recorded and what he was saying on the bus? In that, does it matter?
When you say does it matter, do you mean does it matter for the people at the table, or do we think it will matter in the big picture?
No, does it matter? I'm not
You think
actually
it should matter.
I'm not
You're
saying
not putting a qualifier on it at all.
I didn't say that. No, that's not what I said. The question I said was, you heard all that about,
right,
fucking other people's wives and all that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Does it matter?
Yeah, it matters.
It does.
There's a lot of people who are on the fence that have probably gone over to Hillary's side because that they just can't. I mean, it's fine. One more nail in Trump's coffin is, he's not the right temperament to be president.
It's fairly obvious he meant it. He was talking about what he does, and anybody listening to him knew that.
It's nothing more than a confirmation of his true character.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
See, I'm not 100% sure that he is suave or debonair enough to actually do the things that he was talking about doing. Like, I think that's maybe what he wants to do. I think it matters. I think it matters because even if he's lying his ass off, the fact that he's lying his ass off in that situation is telling about the man. The fact that he thought that it was okay to share that story with some other guy.
When you're famous,
yeah.
You can do anything you want.
Yeah, but
he wasn't being suave or debonair. He was banking on his fame. Period. That
Yeah.
The question I asked is, does it matter?
It matters because, and kind of echoing both of them, it just matters because it shows who he really is. And even if he did lie, even if he lied, the fact that you can tell he meant it and he spoke the truth. He was not trying to just be funny. He wasn't trying to be impressive. I mean, as just an adult male, you just don't say those kind of things. If you you represent and respect.
Let's throw just a slightly different perspective. The question I asked is, does it matter?
It does matter.
Hang on. You've been perfectly happy as Americans to have presidents who've bonked other people's wives since
I haven't been happy about it.
The very first president.
There's a difference between. Does
it mean that because he might bonk somebody else's wife, he would be a bad president?
No. You're going from the wrong angle. It is. Who cares if he's going to have sex with someone else?
Don't do the thing that makes us...
I'm going to do the thing. That's right, buddy. Who cares if he has sex with someone else? The big issue is his derogatory statements towards females as a whole. The fact that he's going to sit there and talk about how you can just grab him in the pussy. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Yeah.
You grab my pussy, it'll bite you.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. So
I thought that was a myth.
I've been warned. I know.
So, what causes somebody to even think about putting that together as the phrase on how you... he's not just being derogatory, and I'm not sure that derogatory is the word that I want. He's being... aggressive.
Very misogynistic.
He's got narcissistic personality
but
disorder.
He's going all this way, and then to use that particular phrase, there was one comedian that I listened to that said, "I don't even know how you would grab somebody by the pussy. How does that work?" So it's just.
Well, never mind.
He and it's telling that he was doing it to much younger men.
Yes.
He was 59, and he was up there bragging and boasting and being very crude to try to impress these young guys because he has to be the center of attention. It's all about Trump, and that's what he thought maybe that would make them idolize him. Who knows?
See, moving on, my thought is that all the commentators have put a lot of thought into this. And what's he saying and how deep is it and everything else. I don't think he gave any thought to it whatsoever. He was just talking on automatic Trump.
He was.
That's just him.
No filter.
That is just him.
This is the genuine
And
Trump.
that brings up the
Sexist,
question.
egotistical pig.
Does Trump ever give anything serious thought? Have you ever heard him give serious thought to anything?
That we had
No, I've
on
never
the
heard him give a
podcast
conversation that's serious in any
last
way.
week about if we say of the people voting that 20 million people, I don't know how many people will vote, and half of them vote for Trump and half of them vote for Clinton. was Clinton actually right to say they're despicable, the people who vote...
Deplorable?
Deplorable, sorry, yes. Deplorable. Was that Clinton talking more off guard? But she was right, that someone who votes for Trump is prepared to accept, as president of this country, someone who thinks if he can get away with it, if he's not going to get into trouble...
That's
of
not
sticking
what she
his
said
hand.
at all.
It may be deplorable, but it's not good for her to go against the voter. She should just keep her comments to Trump.
But what I meant was, is she right?
She did not say that
Whether she
people
should
who
have
vote
said it
for
or not.
Trump are deplorable. She said that a bunch of his supporters, 50%, up to 50% of them, are in what she calls her basket of deplorables. And I agree with that totally. The question is, if you are a white nationalist, if you are a racist, if you are a fascist, if you are a totally nasty, despicable person, who are you going to support in this? Which one?
No. I agree with that. I think the answer to your question is almost undoubtedly she's right. But I think there's a much more interesting, for me at least, question. And that is, I think anybody that supports Clinton would call the folks that are supporting Trump deplorable.
Or some of them.
Or at least some of them.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's a shock.
It's not a shock, but I mean, there are some who I think they support Trump just because they are sick of government. I'm not just.
Yeah, there's a bunch of those people that just want to see the world burn.
They just
Or they
kinda
just
are
don't
tired
like
of it.
Hillary
They're not
and just
necessarily
can't
sexist
stand
and
the
racist
idea of her
individuals.
being
They're
president.
just tired of government.
I don't think you can, at this point, I am not sure how you can rationally support Trump if you are not, and this is just my opinion, how you can support him if you are not one of those things that Kath just said.
I agree.
Okay.
So, and I think that when you...
Or you can be seriously undereducated.
Yeah,
His,
see, that's-
Yeah.
and we
his
talked about that
supporters
a couple weeks ago.
fall
yeah.
into various baskets. There's the baskets of deplorables. There's the basket of the people who can't read. There's the seriously undereducated
I would put
people.
all of his people, as in the basket of ignorance.
That's not true. I have
would
met
put-
some who are not, who just think, well,
No.
he says stuff, but when he's president, he'll be surrounded by advisors.
I would put all of them in the basket of ignorance. That's what they are. They're
Right,
ignorant.
well-
Sure, yes. If not direct ignorance on Trump specifically, on just like what the political process is, how it works, and so their ideas are going to be a little bit malformed and misshapen. I think, I think lots of things. What I was getting to, the point that I was getting to, was that the question for me is, I think it's a given that supporters for Clinton think that about Trump. What is more difficult for me to wrap my head around is that supporters of Trump think that about supporters of Clinton. That people that think that the people that support Trump think that the people that support Hillary are either confused or themselves deplorable for supporting someone that they understand to be. And it really depends on how you classify Hillary. Like, I've heard some people say, it doesn't matter what Trump do, he's not a liar like Hillary, which in itself is hilarious. But how did it become that this politician could be accused of lying and that have her be unqualified to be a politician? I mean, quite literally.
She's on course if she wins,
Right.
and if you listen to Dr. Maddo's television broadcast, there is a reasonable chance. I don't think it's going to happen myself, but there is a reasonable chance that both houses will fall to the Democrats. And if she moves her ass, quickly before anybody dies,
There you go, being sexist.
she can appoint a justice. She can get a whole load through stuff through the various houses quickly. Right. Now there will still be the haters. There will still be people who think she therefore she shouldn't be. They're just going to say that word, that three-letter word, she, as opposed to black. I love to think what would happen if Condoleezza Rice had stood where you have a black sheet.
I'd have to think that she would be dealing with the same because
Exactement, mon brave. Exactement.
yeah.
It's the incomparable, indisputably idiosyncratic undress show. Again? No, I mean, it's the incomparable, indisputably idiosyncratic undress show. How many more times? It's Wednesday Night Undressed. Find us on the porn sites across Europe and North America. So here we are again, fresh from boring presidential debates that taught us about bigotry and not much else. I feel like a child with warring parents. When can we go and live with strange Uncle Conroy, I asked. Yet we've escaped the sniffs. Sniffs, everybody. Apparently that's what you do. Apparently that's the way to do it. I want you all to remember today that when you're talking and making profound statements, you must sniff before, during, and after each statement. This is the most important. Excellent sniff there from Ivo. That was actually a Bulgarian sniff, which is a slightly different spin on it.
Yeah, accent.
That's a good band name.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Excellent. Yes.
Yes.
Wow. Yes. The Bulgarian sniffs.
Bulgarian sniffs.
Oh yes. So well, here we are again at Conroy's Pub and Emporium, where little changes over the millennia, and where if you wait long enough, and you're very lucky, you will hear the bell that will tell you that you can catch anything your heart desires. Let me gently introduce our naked panel for tonight's debate. The magic Dr. Orlando.
Yo.
The indefatigable Kathleen Taylor.
Hello.
The legendary Tyler Durden. That
JT,
marvel of
what's good?
sophistication, Jane Carter.
Hello.
The Dark Lord of Transylvanian pheromones, Ivo Ivanov. Guesting tonight, again, straight from his army service, Chris Magerkurth.
Hello.
Good evening, Major. And without further ado, the first question for our panel. I want the panel, just to get you going, I want you to describe your favourite outfit for formal and informal. Now, whether you admit to it or not, you have favourite things in your wardrobe. That's a closet, just in case you don't understand. You've got favourite things you like to wear, all right? Let's start with Dr. Orlando. What's your favourite things you like to wear? Maybe a shirt or a jacket or a pair of trousers or something.
I generally like to have all of those in some combination or another. Probably for a casual outfit, probably I'd go super, super casual. Just a pair of sweats and one of the wicking shirts. What is that material called? The dry weave stuff.
We know what you mean.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's probably it for me. And as far as casual goes, formal is probably a completely different affair. I've got.
Do you go strapless?
Sometimes I go with the strapless. Sometimes I just go with the straight corset. It really kind of depends on the look I'm going for.
Sniffing, not coughing.
Yes.
Sniffing.
I am partial to double-breasted suits. So I have a favorite charcoal gray pinstriped double-breasted suit that I've.
How long has it been your favorite?
I'm gonna say it's been my favorite for 7-8 years.
Right.
Outside of that, there were a couple of blazers I bought the last time my buddy took me to Bulgaria with him that I still absolutely adore. In fact, there's a green one that I literally fought the urge to wear tonight just because it's cool enough that I can, justify wearing it. Mm-hmm. So anytime I can.
If you wear your green blazer next week, I will wear my yellow one.
Ooh.
I have a yellow blazer that
Bright
Mrs.
yellow.
Taylor made me buy. And
Hey, it was at Penny's Overstock store, and it wasn't very
I
much
have never been
money.
there again. I'm never going to go there again.
You can. It's gone now.
Oh, good. That's a relief. Okay. Tyler.
I would say that for me, if I went formal,
Great consideration there. I like the
I had
the
to-
tone,
I
volume.
had to gather my thoughts.
Yep.
For me, it would be a smoking jacket I have.
You have a smoking
I
jacket?
I have this very fantastic gold and maroon smoking jacket.
If you put water all over it, would it put it out?
Yes, it would.
All right.
And I would wear that with a silk tie that I have that's decorated with skull and crossbones all over it. That's my favorite
Ooh.
formal attire.
What about for trews?
Oops,
Trousers.
Trousers.
I'll just wear a pair of pants, but just a pair of black pants, that's fine. Just a pair of trousers.
Tell
slacks.
me that you have a brandy snifter with Courvoisier.
I do, as a matter of fact. And for informal, that would be my. Dr. Orlando
jacket.
knows this. He knows what I'm talking about. That would be my my Technicolor dream coat bathrobe that I have.
Yes.
Let's ask Jane. What's your favorite? And you can be girly, tomboy, whatever. What's your favorite?
My favorite formal wear is a black dress that is probably about knee length. The straps aren't too thick; they're not too thin on the with pantyhose that has the old school seam down the back of your legs.
Hang on a minute. There may be people listening in their cars right at the moment. So take it easy there. Oops.
And my
There goes
gloves.
one off the highway.
That's my favorite formal wear. And
What
then
did you say? Pumps?
gloves.
Oh, gloves. Right.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Some people still wear 'em.
I think informal is probably just slip-on Toms, jeans, hoodie or jacket. That's pretty much the informal.
Evo, dare we ask?
Well, I don't know. First of all, what a weird question to ask a panel of a show that's called Wednesday Night Undressed, and then a lot of people, successful people, and intelligent people don't really think much about what they're gonna wear. Einstein famously had like 4 identical gray suits that he wore at all times. I think he claimed
All 4?
that. He claimed that spending energy and time thinking about what you're going to wear in the morning is a waste of
Energy and time.
energy and
Has
time.
a lot to be said for it.
And so he was like that. And then you think about Mark Zuckerberg. Always
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs always wore famously jeans and a dark turtleneck.
Mock turtleneck.
Yeah, and then Zuckerberg was that way. A lot of like Mark Cuban has never worn a suit in his life, I think, or at least that's what he says.
Wonder,
I don't
is he
know.
married?
I have I have kind of an affinity to black T-shirts. I have probably 20 identical black T-shirts. Today I'm wearing blue. It's very rare. But usually I go monochromatic. I like black stuff.
I know you very well, Evo. I've
Yeah.
known you for years, right?
Yeah.
And you do have your favorite formal.
I do.
You do, yeah.
What is that?
You have a jacket that you wear, and you also
An
have,
army jacket.
and you also have a hat.
Yeah, I always
you
wear
have
a
your
hat.
flat hat. No, when you're going somewhere special.
Oh yeah.
You
I
have your
one
special
like
hat.
Louis, but not Louis has a Congo.
The Kangol hat?
Kango.
Yes.
These are very expensive, but I have a one like that for formal occasions. Yeah, I have. Believe it or not, I had a ridiculous maroon silk suit,
It was a thing of beauty.
and I still have it. I still have
Oh,
it.
will you wear it, please? Please, please.
We need pictures.
I
We need
went,
pictures.
okay,
There
so,
are pictures.
so I got divorced from my first wife, and I went and moved in with Evo and his family, and they were gracious enough to let me stay there until my life started to make sense.
Yeah.
But I'm like down in the basement, and I'm, I don't know, looking for something, and I look up on the wall, and there is this glorious, glorious, purple,
Silk.
shiny purple suit hanging on the wall, and I'm like, where did this thing come from? I immediately go find Jamie. Jamie, where does this suit come from, and how can I get 3 of them?
Yeah, there's a famous story. I was in college when I got that suit, and I was in graduate school, but I was really, my mind was of a 12-year-old child, and so I came. I was renting an apartment. I had 2 roommates, and they claimed that I came home completely wasted one night, really like 2 o'clock in the morning, wasted. They were watching TV, and I went straight into the apartment. Went into my room, got dressed in the maroon silk suit, went into the living room, cleaned the coffee table, laid on it, and fell asleep. So that's my silk suit story.
Chris, what about you?
I hate formal clothes, so I try to wear them as little as possible. Generally, I like to hang out in T-shirts, jeans, and shorts, tennis shoes.
Kathleen.
Well, I can't for formal wear. I can't stand long skirts because they trip you. Can't stand short skirts because you can't bend over. I don't like skirts much. So for formal wear, I prefer a really cool pantsuit. You know, I'm a Hillary Clinton sort, but maybe shimmery or something like that. You know, whatever. Pretty boring on informal wear. T-shirt and jeans. In the winter, a long sleeve T-shirt with a baggy wool sweater over it and jeans.
Cool.
What about you, Britt?
Kilts.
I have my white dinner jacket that occasionally I wear when I'm doing bond lectures.
Racist, go ahead.
Fundraisers and
Yeah,
such.
that sort of thing. And jeans, and I have made a pact with myself that I have 3 ties that I now wear occasionally at only serious events. So that
Generally
means
not all together.
not at the same time. Black tie if I have to go to a funeral, clearly. I have an Eeyore tie.
Do you only wear your black tie to funerals?
Yes. I have an Eeyore tie, which I got specially. The Disney store in London got me the Eeyore tie, and
So
I
you
am
wear that
I am
and
responsible.
nothing else?
I am responsible for Disney stores
This is your time.
actually making an Eeyore tie. This is, I think, and my
Did
favorite.
you know that they don't make Eeyore stuff in general?
Yeah.
And you
No,
know
I
the
didn't realize
explanation
that.
they'll give you?
Why is that?
Because he is
He's a manic depressive.
manic depressive.
Oh, that
And
sounds
they don't
very
think he is
typical.
a good role
When is
model.
he your manic?
This is
He's
perfectly
always
true. I
depressing.
made friends with the then marketing person for Disney Europe, and they didn't have an Eeyore tie. You could get Winnie the Pooh and Tigger and things like that, but they didn't have one for Eeyore.
That's freaking
And,
discrimination.
and she,
You can buy
she
Eeyore stuffed
said,
dolls.
I think that's a
Yeah.
really good idea. And 3 or 4 months later, I got a call, and she said, are you going to be in London? I said, yes. She said, well, we've got something for you. And it was an Eeyore tie. But my favourite tie of all, I had 2. I've given one to my friend Alec, who was here the other day, and that is a dead parrot tie. It's
It's just sleeping.
It's the genuine dead parrot tie. Could only be bought when they did the show at Her Majesty's Theatre, and that's my favourite tie.
It's an upside-down parrot, of course.
Upside down parrot. It's a Norwegian
An
blue.
ex-parrot.
It's
An
a Norwegian
ex-parrot.
blue.
Yes.
He is an ex-parrot. What's the team's explanation for the September clown sighting hysteria?
Trump.
Evo.
Well, there was a rumor that it's a viral marketing campaign for the upcoming release of the It movie, the Stephen King, famous Stephen King book that's apparently made into a movie. But apparently this was a very limited campaign, and I don't know. I mean, there's just a lot of crazy people. The clown, just a lot of crazy people that have an opportunity to hide behind unrecognizable mask.
Anonymity.
Basically. Anonymity. And just be idiots and not be recognized. I mean, this is kind of a very typical human drive for some reason. Clowns in general are kind of fascinating. You're probably familiar with Grimaldi, right? With Joseph Grimaldi, the famous British clown. I think he started the clown movement. He invented the white face.
Yeah, he's the guy that he's the prototype for all clowns.
Yeah, and
And
clowns.
big feet,
There's
things like
fascination.
that.
Clowns have been always been around, like since the pharaohs, and the jesters in the medieval times, and there were clowns in the ancient Rome.
Native American cultures.
Native
they have
American
a lot
culture
of
is
clowns.
famous for clowns. They had clowns to interrupt very elaborate rituals with silly stuff. So I think it's kind of a very typical thing for humans to look for something preposterous to come in and disturb the situation, the protocol. And so, and clowns have always freaked people out. I think there's a phobia. Isn't there a clown phobia, like official medical condition?
Yeah.
And a lot of children, I've read somewhere that a lot of children are petrified by clowns. Something like maybe 60% of children don't like clowns. So they've always been bizarre. I think, what is the point of the colorful, I think it's for kids, right? The colorful wigs, the oversized shoes, the red nose, all that stuff is to make kids, because kids like colorful stuff, but in fact, it has the opposite effect. The fear. Have you thought about the fear of clouds?
Tyler, let's go across to Tyler next.
I think actually you kind of hit on it for a second, because you talked about how there's just a lot of stupid people out there who put anything on the web. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I think the greatest cause for this whole phase is the internet itself.
Yeah.
If you didn't have the internet,
nobody would.
You would have no access, and you wouldn't see this craze, because some ass clown, pun intended, wouldn't have a place to actually sit there and post things like this that would just spread.
Yeah. Well, every human being wants to be on stage, wants to be the center of attention, it seems like. And now with the internet, it's an instant stage. And that's a very easy way to step on that stage and be center of attention for a little bit.
Chris, what do you think about Ronald?
Oh, I never liked Ronald McDonald. I always thought he was just kind of weird. Plus, I worked for McDonald's for a while, and he was a cruel taskmaster. So
McDonald's shut him down
because McDonald's corporate have, apart from very selected, he's been shut down for the time being.
But I think what you're seeing now is just a cycle that's gone on for years.
It's a phenomenon.
I remember reading about this a guy in England who was doing kind of the same thing. Was just showing up. I think he was having people come out, take pictures. He was posting them online. It was just a guy standing somewhere, and this was like 2 or 3 years ago. And I remember I've read the stories of this happening in the 80s. I've also read stories of this goes all the way back to like the early 1800s of people just dressing up in clowns and scare
the shit out of people.
Yeah, Happy Clowns is a recent phenomenon.
At the moment, I think it's nothing more. I believe that everybody has a really valid point with where they're going and everything, but honestly, I feel it's indicative of this culture's generation that they're so spoiled and so bored that they have nothing to do and no real purpose whatsoever. So they mimic the few of the crazies that started it, and now they're just doing it. They have nothing else to do, and they want their little 30 seconds of fame.
But why clowns? Why not a werewolf?
Somebody started it, though.
They're
just following suit because they have nothing else to do.
Oh, you guys are all on the wrong track. It's just one guy who's scouting sites for rallies. Big orange guy with a squirrel on his head and little tiny hands that make his sleeves look big.
You mean the really scary clown?
Yeah.
So,
Lewis,
when I was a kid, I was afraid of clowns. I was not afraid of all clowns. I was afraid of a specific kind of clown. It was ones that had faces drawn on the on top of the white face, not just features, like not just eyes, but mouth drawn in a particular shape or eyes drawn in a particular shape. That notion that their face was frozen was terrifying to me as a kid.
Tell me you didn't like Bozo the Clown?
I was terrified of Bozo. I would actually have nightmares about Bozo the Clown. And it was not like I had a ton of exposure to him. I think maybe the first time I saw him was enough to cause me to have like a recurring nightmare for most of my childhood, specifically about Bozo. So I think that there's... if I had to... Eva posed the question to me earlier, why is it that I think that clowns are scary? For kids, I think, at least I know for sure it was for me, it was that notion that they were behind this frozen face.
Yes.
And I don't even mind a mask as much as I minded the notion that somebody's expression was stuck there.
How about that fear that maybe that's not a mask, but that's their actual face?
Yeah.
That they're not hiding behind a face. That's their face.
Which is what
we had
made
lots
that
of circuses in England, and you'd either go or you'd watch circus on the TV, and we don't have 3-ring circus, we have 1-ring circus.
Yeah.
And the clowns would come on. I just never thought they were funny. It wasn't I was scared of them. I just didn't think they were funny. It just didn't seem that they trip over their big
slapstick
feet.
stuff.
We've all witnessed your sense of humor at this point, and that doesn't surprise any of us.
What's really shocking is that the creepiest mascot in the world, Ronald McDonald, you would never think that anyone can top this crap. And Burger King comes up with this ridiculous king.
Wait a minute. What about Jack in the Box? You talking
Jack
about
in the
a creepy
Box.
ass mascot?
Yeah.
Jack in the
that
Box
was
dude
creepy.
is
That's true,
creepy.
With a big white head.
Big white head and the nose cone and
Do you
the
know
eyes
where that came
eyes
from?
that never move. Oh.
That came from a British comedian, right, who didn't have enough money to take on Jack in the Box. That was his idea. You can go and see him on Netflix. Let's move on. Trump says we should be friends with Russia. Trump says we should be friends with Russia. I remember that film, because I'm old enough, The Russians Are Coming. Is he right, Ivo?
Well, I mean, obviously, Russians are not afraid of clowns. They
got one.
clearly they like that bastard. Yeah, I don't know. I think Russia has their own agenda with everything they do. Putin is an extremely dangerous guy. They're extremely interested in, looks like it's unprecedented. They're extremely interested in our election. They're extremely interested in influencing the election. They're interested in kind of drowning our country into chaos with a weak and clearly insane potential president.
They're doing return to the KGB. That's all.
Yes, yes, and they've never left because Putin is the former director of KGB, and so it's very unnerving and very scary that they're actually actively influencing our election, the election process, and everybody should be really worried about this. Trump himself, clearly an idiot, who sees nothing wrong with treason, because this is treason. Just swallowing Russian propaganda left and right and using it against his opponent. So it's very scary, and I'm really worried about it.
Kathleen?
Yeah.
Oh, well, he didn't actually say he thought it would be a good idea if we were friends with Russia. He just said, wouldn't it be a nice thing? It's not a policy. He has not pronounced any policy on it at all. He simply produced a vision of what if all the world got together. That's it.
Who said that? Trump?
Trump.
Tyler?
Yes and no. Yes, we should, but no, not right now. We need to have, Russia needs to have a leader that we can actually talk to and actually sit there and find compromise with. Clearly, Putin is not even touchable when it comes to insanity. Yeah. And so, yes, we should, but not right now.
Let's widen the question up a little bit more. And if Ivo hasn't told you before, Putin, by the way, speaks perfect English. He understands and can communicate. It's not like we have to have translators. The reason the translators are there is for policy. Putin speaks perfectly good English. Are we, in fact, silently lurching, without realizing it, towards a serious military punch-up with Russia over our support for various different factions in Syria? Could we, for example, end up with a full-scale war, accidentally, with Russia if one side takes out a military jet or worse? For example, there is talk at the moment of a UN protected convoy going into Aleppo, and if Syrians who don't have an air force decided that wasn't going to happen, it would be Russian fighters against British/American fighters. So let's start with Dr. Orlando, carrying the question on. Are we, in fact, could we be silently, quietly lurching towards a military conflict with Russia?
I don't think so. I think that we are, without question, looking at a return to the Cold War. But I think that the same ideas and scenarios that prevented military conflicts during the Cold War would prevent a military conflict right now with Russia.
Yeah, Putin may be crazy, but he's not stupid. He knows that if something went down and some kind of nukes got exchanged, or even a non-nuclear war, that wouldn't be good for him at all.
So why does he want to? Why is he backing Assad? Is it strictly for access to the?
Well, there's many reasons. There's many reasons. First of all,
or is it geopolitical?
Geopolitical is number one reason, because first of all, everybody wants to have a foothold in the Middle East. Right. Secondly, huge part of Putin's agenda is having presence on the Mediterranean. They only have Russia only has one naval. To the water. Russia has only one naval base on the Mediterranean, and it's in Tartus. It's in Syria. If Assad loses this, they lose any access to the Mediterranean. This is huge. Also, Russia, it's really, really well known in Eastern Europe. Russia, one of their biggest customers of their weapons manufacturing is Syria. I think they have something like $5 billion a year sales to Syria in weapons, and it's huge, and that's to the Assad regime. And they're selling tanks, they're selling missiles, MiGs, all kinds of stuff. It's a huge customer. They
So
have
why
to,
is
you have to
where is
protect
Syria
your
getting the money
customer.
for this?
They have a lot of oil.
So they're selling. So in other words, Russia is getting the profit from all the oil in Syria
Oh, yeah.
at the moment.
Indirectly. Yeah.
Indirectly.
And
Yeah.
it's huge. And also, to tell you the truth, it's good for Assad to stay in power. We are now, the United States is backing crazy people. Crazy. The rebels against the Assad. Assad is insane. These people are crazier. These people are the future ISIS. And so, I don't know. In a weird way, it's a good thing that Putin is backing up Assad, because if Assad falls, this entire region is going to fall apart.
Yeah, we saw what happened in Iraq when
Yes,
Saddam went down.
it's
It just-
exactly what's going to
That's
happen.
one of the saddest things I've ever heard.
It's sad to watch the little boy carrying the ambulance and kids getting killed. It's horrible. But the other side is horrible as well. The other side fighting is horrible as well. So, it's a really volatile situation. And Tyler here is a scholar on history and European history. It can escalate into a war, because how World War I started. What triggered it was just one singular event, but it was before that. It was an accumulation, a build-up of ambitions, antagonistic ambitions,
Absolutely.
and power. So
Absolutely.
No, and I meant to say that. At the start of my comment, that there's undoubtedly the chance that it'll happen. I would generally think that we have the same safeguards in place and the same political structures in place that prevented specifically military escalation of the situation between America and
The
Russia.
First World War, which started with the assassination in Sarajevo, people say, well, that's what started it.
That's not what started it at all.
No, it wasn't what started
No.
it at all. It was just what was used as a...
It was
Yeah.
You know,
a catalyst.
as
If
a-
any one man is most responsible, it's Kaiser Wilhelm I. If any one man is most responsible, it's
That
him.
asshole.
Because he saw it as an excuse to be able to do the things he
Exactly.
wanted to do.
Man,
Yep.
if I had him here right now, I'd
And
punch him.
I'd give him a
I
stern
don't
talking to.
think.
Yeah.
I think a military punch-up. This is just for me, and we'll move on to the next thing. It is a mistake, or the wrong pilot being in the wrong place, or the wrong pilot being in the right place. One of these hoorah type Russians or Americans, because a Brit wouldn't do it. Because it's just not in our nature to do this sort of
Clearly.
thing. We only fight back when someone kicks one of our dogs. If you kick one of the corgis, then you're in deep shit. But otherwise, you'll be fine. But I just
I think that's how the Brits are known, like throughout history. They kind of keep to themselves. Like, yeah.
I had a friend. Who was an army helicopter pilot. Right. I had a friend who was an army helicopter pilot, and every morning, they used to fly these helicopters up in East Germany. Sorry, West Germany, and you have the Russian pilots in East Germany, right? And they weren't supposed to communicate with each other, but you imagine all these big forests, and they have fire breaks, big wide fire breaks, that are about 500 yards wide. And so the East German Russian pilots would fly down on their side, and the Brits would fly down on their side, right? And there are parts where there wasn't a wall, it was just a bit of a fence, right? And my friend who used to fly these helicopters, he said, "Do you know what we did?" And I said, "No." He said, "What we used to do," he said, "we'd call them up every morning, or they'd call us. Because you could telephone." He said, "We'd call them up and ask them what they were doing today, and they'd tell us."
Wow.
And vice versa. This was done at sort of junior officer level, right? Senior officers knew it was going on, but it was done at junior officers level, just so that two helicopters didn't meet, at the wrong place and make mistakes. The junior officers, at captain level, if you like, got it sorted. Would you be happy or unhappy if the election was over today? And if so,
Moving right along.
what are the positive ramifications of this election run-up. Now, I'm talking about the election run-up, not afterwards, not post. I'm talking about what have been the positive ramifications of the pre-election run-up for the future of American politics? The whispering, by the way, folks, is everybody ordering drinks. We really are in a
this
bar.
topic needs it. Yeah.
Would you be happy or unhappy if the election was over today? And if so, what are the positive ramifications for the pre-election run-up for the future of American politics? Jane. She said, not me, which is why I picked her.
I'll go.
All right, Kathleen's going to go first
All
because
right.
Jane's still ordering her drinks.
The possibility of splitting into more parties than just two. I think it would benefit this country to have to deal with some serious third, fourth party politics.
Tom Hanks for president. I want to start it here.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe more than two parties. For real, serious parties.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it is almost inevitable right now. Specifically, we are seeing Trump gather up all the villagers and turn their pitchforks towards the Republican Party, which is something that the...
Are you a Frankenphobe?
Yes.
Oh, right.
Which is something that we didn't really... I don't think the Republican Party expected it, which is surprising and shocking all at the same time. So I would expect that we have to deal with a third party after this election. For me, the more depressing, disgusting thing is how much coarser the dialogue will be, or trialogue if there are three parties, however you want to describe it. We saw it begin with Obama. We saw a lot of the respect for the office. We saw the respect get thrown out of the window because a brother had the office. And once we saw the types of attacks that Trump used against Hillary and the fervor to which everybody joined in on those attacks, I think it can't help but get worse once she's president. And I think that it's going to have the effect of we're going to see more crass, more vulgar, more apolitical.
But you had the key right there. You said when she is
No. That
president.
is exactly my point. Yeah.
Exactly. It's no longer
You
shocking
had to
to
do-
the
you-
American
you
system,
did, didn't
to
you?
American politics. Shut up. that we had somebody who was black as president. Ben Carson was taken seriously not because he was black.
Right.
I'm not quite sure why, but not because
Who took him seriously?
Well,
That's the guy that talk about the pyramids.
somebody did. Somebody did.
Storing bread in the
But
pyramids or something.
after
This guy was
after
insane.
Hillary Clinton is
Everyone knows
president,
that.
it won't be a
device.
shocking thing to have a female there. Finally.
Chris.
I don't think it's going to change much American politics. I think Lewis is right that it's just going to get kind of worse, that it's going to just devolve. And I agree with Catherine, too, that hopefully it'll lead to more parties, more representation for everybody. And, you know, I would like to see more of a parliamentary system in this country as opposed to, you know, the pseudo one party that we have right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is one party.
The biggest thing I would love to see on the positive side is that, even though I don't think this is going to happen, that enough people wake up and say, wow, our educational system is really flawed, because look at all these people who support Trump and who are willing to still support him after everything he's done. Clearly, we, as a society, we are uneducated as a whole. And if you want to ensure things like this don't happen again, you've got to educate the people. We've got to move away from this idea that you keep the people stupid and you can get away with whatever you want in politics.
And we gotta
Evo.
fight to have more party. You gotta
Indeed.
fight for your right to party.
That's right.
Now, you know, by the way, Kaiser William I is a great name to give to your penis. Kaiser William I. Kaiser William
I
II
would find that
is a
difficult.
great name for
Yes.
John Wayne Bobbitt's penis.
Okay, and with that detailed, you can see the. All right, Jane, let's have you wind up this section.
I think it would be great to see a third party, because I really feel, I mean, just listening to people's interviews with people, they just don't even know where they belong anymore. I think that things are changing so much that it's not just one or the other. There's a shade in between, and I really think that would be a positive if there was a third party involved. What it would entail, I have no idea. I know that I feel like I can't identify with either one anymore. I feel like...
Not just a third party. They have to be at least 4, I think.
Yeah, there's
to make it sustainable.
There is no doubt that not a lot of Americans know this, but in England we had, for the longest time, you had the Labour Party and the Conservative Party, rather like the Democrats and the Republicans, for ages and ages and ages.
The Labour Party were pro-life.
They were pro all sorts of things, pro unions.
They were pro-labor.
Oh,
but
for
another.
heaven's sake. Trying to figure out where that came from.
Dear, oh dear, oh dear. However, what was proved in the UK was that a third party, who became known as the Liberal Democrats, could be successful. And so the Green Party comes along, but there were 3 main parties for quite a while. And so I think it is possible. Moving on.
But I don't. Honestly, I don't think that is possible. I mean, all of you had mentioned this, having a third party. It's great in theory.
4.
Okay, 4 parties. There's one problem with that. You have to look at the capitalistic framework that is what the dual party system exists as it is today. Yeah. And until you change certain regulations and certain rules and stipulations to what a party can and cannot do, there's not a chance a third party will ever have enough.
That's where
they will
new
never
Supreme
have
Court
enough
comes
money.
in.
They'll never have enough money.
Yeah.
But don't you think
the Libertarians are almost going to get federal funding this year? If
the Republican Party is
gets
so fractured that it's going to dissolve into several parties. Like the Tea Partiers will go one way, the Libertarians, and this can be the best thing. Trump, I think, might be the best thing that happened to this country.
It could be a necessary evil.
Yeah, it's like fantastic. It's a cleansing agent. It's going to dissolve the Republican Party. It's going to fracture it. And for the next 100 years, we're not going to have a white male as a president.
Well, Trump.
Wow.
We can look,
which is great.
we can look to a Trump TV channel sometime in the middle of next year.
Broadcasting mainly in Russia.
Yeah. Should Medicaid, the VA, and Medicare be given teeth to be able to negotiate deals with Big Pharma? Markups. Price gouging in America is illegal. It's part of the American psyche. So why is it okay to make a pill that costs $1 and then sell it on for $1,000?
If you give Medicaid teeth to negotiate with the Big Pharma, they're not going to have dental insurance. So I don't think it's a good idea to give them teeth.
You are allowed to do that to the public. You're allowed to take your small, low-cost pill and charge a fortune for it, so long as you don't smirk while you're doing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or sniff.
Or sniff. No.
There's no
if your
sniffing.
name is Shkreli, you can't.
It's capitalism to charge whatever you can for the service or
So
product
it's
that
okay
you provide.
then. It's okay then, Chris.
It's not
is
okay.
It?
You know that's
it's
not.
sort of up to the consumer to say, no, I'm not going to pay that. I'm going to go for this guy over here, which is why I'd really like, for the health insurance to take it out of the people who pay for the health care and give it back to the people who use the health care.
Now, we've said, I set you up a bit here, because I said that right at the beginning, I said, don't forget, I come from a family with haemophilia in it. So drugs are a big part of my world.
I've heard 2 of what could be the greatest drops ever to come from this podcast. Evo said Trump is the greatest thing that's happened in American politics, and Jeremy just said drugs are a big part of his life.
Yes.
Merck, for example, one of the biggest drug manufacturers in the world. Has anybody got any idea how much it costs to design and bring through this drug that only costs $1 to make?
Probably a lot.
That's the point. It can cost literally billions of dollars.
That's part of the point. You can also have people who simply buy up patents and products from companies that have already developed them and then shoot up the price.
Do you guys know that there is no pharmaceutical company right now that is making anti-venom for snakes?
Really?
Yeah. So
that sucks for snakes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I
Well,
mean,
it sucks for us.
Oh,
it
us
sucks
too.
for the
Yeah.
folks that the snakes bite that will
Uh-huh.
need medical help in the next 5 to 10
We
years.
shouldn't live
Or
where
the-
snakes are.
Or the
I
flu
mean, for
vaccine,
goodness
which
sake.
is
You're in
not quite
Kansas.
You
as
just have
profitable.
to suck out the poison.
Yes.
So
Let's hope it doesn't
Part of-
bite the Kaiser William
Chop his
first.
willy off, I say.
So I was actually going to ask the question:
Question.
what does that does that argument of the drug companies hold any truck? Does it matter?
Any trump?
Are the prices that they're charging for research, and it's not just the one drug that they're being charged for. They're having to write off the cost for all the drugs that fail. So there's even costs in the There are costs that they are trying to recoup from the sale of that one drug that may cover 10, 50, 100 drugs. Is that still a reasonable argument?
Why does it?
Don't
cost-
ask me. You're the panel.
Yeah.
Well,
A
it's
prime example, though, of the problem that you guys are all talking about is the EpiPen. I mean, you guys have all seen this in the news
Oh, yeah.
about how it was jacked up at $500 when it used to be $50.
Yeah.
And then they lowered the price. They said,
this-
"Oh, this is wrong. We're going to lower the price."
They sell a
and they lowered
generic
it to
version
like
now.
$400. It's still ridiculous. They're still making huge profits off this.
I'm not so sure. I think also the costs are overinflated for creating new drugs. They talk about billions and billions of dollars and spending ridiculous amount of money to synthesize a new drug. And what happened? I mean, when the penicillin was discovered, how was it discovered? So many drugs have been discovered in the last 100 years accidentally. With very, very little cost.
Yeah,
and
but
so
very few drugs get discovered accidentally now.
nowadays.
Yeah.
Okay, but I don't believe when I was in college, I participated in a study. There was a facility in Lenexa called IMTCI.
That's what it's from. Now that's
It
it.
explains so much, doesn't it?
They paid us.
Yeah.
They had to test a new drug. All right, so they paid college students $100 a day for 7 days, and I was part of the study. And you take this drug, and they don't tell you anything about it. So you take this drug, and then they analyze the absorption rate of the drug for 1 week, and you're not allowed to exit the facility. So they had about 12 people. We were 12 people in this facility. We stayed there for a week. They paid us $100 a day. It was a lot of money back then. But I think this was their human. That was the only human testing they've done before they released the drug to the market. I mean, I'm guessing this was something for the flu or something like this. I don't know. They didn't tell us. I ingested the drug. They watch you ingest the drug, and then they have you drink a glass of water. They're incredibly dumb because they had nobody in the bathroom, where I went and immediately puked everything that I had just ingested. So I was not. I guess it was wrong of me to do this, but it was wrong of them not to give us information, all the information about the drug, what possible side effects there are. So all the other people in the room, they kind of lost consciousness for a while. They were out, except for me and one other guy, which I believe he was the placebo guy. So.
Well, I was actually just thinking, listening to y'all talk, I remembered a story. I was with my friend, and she had at the time, a 10-year-old daughter, and her little friend had gotten some form of leukemia, and they couldn't afford anything, and the prices were just jacked to all nothing, and we're just sitting there hanging out one night watching a movie. And she comes downstairs, and she's really upset because she found out that her friend and mother had to sell their house and all this other stuff and just downgrade everything they'd ever known. And she said, I don't understand. If it's so, and she didn't use the words, but she said, if it's so accessible, why is it that they can't get it? Why is it that nobody will help them? And, sometimes I think a child's perspective just brings everything back down to, I don't know, you just start thinking about, it
how
brings
much
you,
human life
yeah,
costs
I'm
a
like,
child's life? How many
my
billions of
God.
dollars?
That's it, huh?
And it's very interesting, and we'll move on to the last subject in a moment. It is very interesting. The Americans are about the only modern country to go in this particular direction. It doesn't matter whether you live in China or Russia or Great Britain or France or Canada or South America there is some form of health care for everybody, and yet the Americans seem incapable.
We're the only
Capitalism,
country,
buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Capitalism.
and it's the culture. They find it very difficult to deal with it.
I saw a chart that plotted dollars spent per life expectancy, and the United States spends the most money on healthcare and has the lowest life expectancy
relative to the money spent.
Relative to the money spent of any country.
And we're the only country that allows advertising of medicine on television with Australia. Us and Australia, the only two countries that allow television. And if you watch television carefully, you will be shocked to find out that every second ad is for a medicine. It's ridiculous.
That's where the mute button comes in. You know, just boom, right over it.
Let's move on to the last one, and I want you to take this as a serious question, boys and girls. What do you think of Donald Trump's sexual exploits? And Hillary.
Serious?
How serious is that?
Yeah, no, we're thinking of hiring a new president. And Hillary Clinton's lack of sexual exploits. In the
Supposed
light
lack.
of the obvious fact that a lot of people in power are unfaithful. That is to say, are we about to elect the first unfaithful president?
Oh my
She's
God.
just been more.
Faithful.
She's just been more.
She's
discreet.
faithful. You know, I mean, are we going to elect an unfaithful president or a faithful president?
Yeah, I don't care as long as she doesn't do anything in the Oval Office. You know, if she wants to do something in the residential portion of the White House.
You're all assuming that
That's
he
pretty
meant,
much the way everyone
meant
thinks.
Hillary.
That was my only problem with Bill, is he was doing it in the Oval Office.
Yeah.
But even when he was doing that with a little cigar in the Oval Office, did that really affect his policies?
No.
Our economy was still one of the best ever. Our international relations was still one of the best ever.
Just the fact that he was doing it on my dime, and if I had been doing that at my work, I would have gotten fired.
True.
You just need to find a better job, man.
Room. There is a little room, isn't there, that Kennedy had, apparently.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, I
but
had a
it-
little tunnel.
But it was part of the, the office area of the president, not
But-
the residential portion.
But we're getting terribly worked up about Trump. What about Hillary Clinton? I mean, you know.
I'm not sure that we're getting worked up about the Donald having sex. We're getting worked up about the Donald being an asshole and being inherently dangerous, not just for president, but apparently for any woman that happens to be in his presence. So for me, there's a radical difference between saying, I find the whole Monica Lewinsky story distasteful, versus saying, I cannot allow my daughter to be anywhere near this guy. And if I can't trust him around my family, if I can't trust him around even my friends, why the fuck would I trust him around a nuclear launch code?
Yeah, I'm not as worried about Trump's sexual, promiscuity. I'm worried about the fact that he's probably one of the very few, maybe the first human being completely consumed by his own asshole. He's been swallowed by his own asshole. This guy is
That's his
reprehensible.
mouth, right?
I mean, reprehensible.
No, it's his whole body.
He's an
Just one big
he
Oh, you're
is.
saying like the girl in Deep Throat. She's got bits in the wrong place.
What is this
Oh,
deep
maybe.
throat to which you refer?
But anyway, the guy
I think
is
it's behind the green door.
The guy's a
I've never heard of that.
megalomaniac, clearly megalomaniac, narcissistic, obviously sociopath. He clearly there's some pathology involved with his personality that needs to be addressed by professionals.
Yeah.
This man should not be anywhere
And it's
near
not
the
just his
executive office.
attitude toward women.
No,
Some
no,
of
no.
the tapes and stuff
Forget
that are
about-
coming out
yeah.
are him humiliating other men. In other words, he says, "You'd fuck her, right? I would."
And by
they
the
don't
way,
want to take
it's
part
his
of this.
attitude towards
He's
people.
making them.
And
Yeah.
by the way, how
He's
dare
making
you?
them participate.
How
He
dare
didn't pay
you, Jeremy?
contractors. He had,
How dare you, Jeremy? Hillary's probably a freak in the sack. How dare you put her down, saying she has no experience? Who knows how amazing she is in the sack? Probably
when
she is.
The whole Bill Clinton thing happened, I still remember thinking the same thing. I don't give
God,
a
he's
shit.
gorgeous.
Oh
No.
my God!
I don't give a shit. That's his wife's problem.
Yeah.
That's his. That is a marital
Yep.
problem. That's his wife's problem. I don't give a rat's ass. And now it's so funny that it's been brought full circle, because now she's being criticized for being. I'm sorry. Has anybody in this room ever been cheated on? Do you know how hard it is to deal with the other person, the other woman, yada yada yada? Oh well,
Hillary-
but it is her station to be responsible and do so. I get that.
Hillary's a freak.
But-
She's setting up a dungeon in the
but-
White House already, man. She's
I love. Did
dominatrix.
you guys see? What's her name? Which one is it? The
Ivana?
Trump one.
Tiffany?
Yeah.
Are you
Whatever.
talking about
the Trump
daughter?
wife right
Oh,
now.
The wife.
Melania.
Melania.
Did you see what she said
They all
about
look
the whole
same,
thing?
don't they?
She said
All of them.
something along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing, I hope everybody sees that he's, genuinely sorry for what he did. I hope you all forgive him the way I forgave him. And I'm thinking to myself, God, Hillary should throw that shit in everybody's face. I'm just saying, when you start talking about her husband, well, I'm sorry, that wasn't me. And I'm just going to take a little play from your wife's, what your wife said.
You
As
have
a
good point
wife,
there.
I forgave my husband. I hope you do too.
Poor Hillary was
all.
was a victim in the whole thing, in the whole Bill Clinton thing, and it was in a most horrible situation the spouse can be. She went through hell, and I don't think she wants to be portrayed as a villain, as a victim. As a victim in this thing, so maybe she's afraid to say, I was a victim in this whole situation.
The fact we're even talking about this is scary and it's sad because what Bill Clinton did in his past has nothing to do with Hillary and how
And it
what
doesn't
she will
justify
be.
what Trump did.
It has nothing to do with it, and the fact that Trump still brings it up, and yet the American, or a good percentage of the American populace, sits there and just eats it up. They don't sit there and realize, wow, he's really kind of manipulating us and trying to pull our strings.
Did anybody see the clip of Trump's daughter Tiffany after the second debate?
No, and she didn't kiss him.
He reached over to kiss him or to kiss her, and she skeeved away from him.
Well, yeah.
Like
didn't
I
see
have
that.
not seen that.
yeah, you'll have
I have to
to
look
I
take
don't
a look.
blame
That's
her.
a guy that refers to Ivanka as a
sorry
piece
for
of
her.
ass, right?
Yeah.
So
It's like the Cruz daughter doing the same thing at one of his campaign events where
Yeah.
he tried to give her a kiss and she was like,
get away. Yes. Well, Tiffany's like in her 20s.
Well, and Trump, when the whole affair was happening with Bill Clinton way back in the 90s, Trump was on record on like TV shows saying how great Hillary is and how she's putting up with all this stuff and what a hero shit. But now because his agenda needs a different narrative, she says, oh, she's an enabler. So it's really hypocritical. These guys
typical politician.
Yeah, these guys despicable.
You've been listening to Wednesday Night Undressed, brought to you live and recorded live at Conroy's Emporium, where you can get anything your heart desires. We'd like to thank Eric, the producer, for producing, and I'd like to thank the team for coming up. Thank you very much, and thank you, of course, to Conroy for the steak fries. We still have some left.
You gotta thank Kaiser William the First.
3 weeks ago. And in particular, we'd like to thank Kaiser William the First. For all his naughty bits. Thanks, folks. See you next week.